We are one, we are love, and we're all woven together.
Hi, I'm Jessica Thang. I'm with the South Point region of the San Diego Church of Christ, and I'm excited to share some thoughts with you that have really encouraged me over the years, but even more so lately with everything going on. You know, in Psalm 46:10, the Bible reads, "Be still and know that I'm God." You know, I really love that reminder to just be still. That's not easy to do. Even though many of us have, physically we've got to be still right at home, but in our minds and our hearts, how are we doing at just being still? And I know for me, when I practice this, it's easy for me to think about God more. And one attribute about God that I really cling to is just His sweetness, is how sweet God is to me. And I'm sure to all of you. There's an interaction in the Bible in a woman's life between her and her God of this very thing. It's the story of Hagar in Genesis 16. Hagar was the maidservant to Sarah, Abraham and Sarah, and Sarah was desperate to get pregnant. She wanted to have a baby, and God promised that she would. But year after year, it wasn't happening. And so, as you can imagine, just her impatience was growing and frustration. And at some point, she just took matters into her own hand and decided that her maidservant would marry her husband and conceive that way. And so they did. But that did not help the situation. In fact, Sarah became more angry, more frustrated, and even abusive toward Hagar. And so that's another Bible study for another time, Sarah. But we look at Hagar. Here's this woman in a situation that she didn't expect, right? Situation she didn't ask for. But here she is. This woman with a child no longer wanted, no longer valued, and in fact now asked to leave with this child. And so here she is, desperate, overwhelmed, I'm sure, terrified of what's going to happen to her and her baby. And so in Genesis 16, a little further down in verses 8 and 9, again, in her most desperate moment, God shows up. And I love this because He talks to her and rolls out His plans for her life. He reminds her that she does matter and that He, in fact, has a plan and a promise for her and for her child and future children. That His eyes are on her and that her pain matters to Him. He didn't take away the situation. He didn't fix it. He didn't rescue her from it. In fact, through the conversation, God eventually sends her back and calls her to go back and submit to the challenging situation she was in. I mean, imagine that. But what He does do for her is really powerful. When her life at the moment, her current circumstances are so harsh, God's sweetness, takes over. And what she really needed more than anything was what He gave her, the validation, the reminder of her worth, that she mattered to Him and that He saw her. And I think what's so awesome in verse 13, she gives God this name. It says in Genesis 16:13, she gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her. "For you are the God who sees me." She said, "I have now seen the one who sees me." I love this. This was her name for God. This is how she understood who God was to her. And over the years, I've adopted this name for God too. That God is a God who sees me, right? I now see Him who sees me. And that brings so much encouragement because He did this for her, but He does that for us. And He does that for you. You matter to God. Your life matters. Your children matter. Your pain matters to God. And even though he doesn't always rescue us or fix the situation, right? He does provide us with these reminders that he has a plan for us, for you. And to allow that sweetness, that kindness of God to warm our hearts, to empower us to go back into the situation and surrender to the circumstances, knowing that we really do matter to him. And so, wherever you're at during this time, and it may vary from day to day, like it does for me, I am reminded that God sees. He sees the pile of dishes that I do every day, right? He sees my effort to keep giving and pouring myself out when I'm tired. Just who I am, the things I worry about and wonder about, that all matters to God. And the same is true for you. So as you go about your week, this week I want us to really think about, how has God shown up for each of us, right? How has he shown up for you? Do you believe that he has a plan for your life? Hagar, in all her distress, had enough faith to accept that what God said about her and for her was true. Will we believe? Will you take God at his word and believe and trust that he has a plan for your life and that he sees you? He really sees you. So I want to encourage us with that, just to really meditate on how sweet God is and that he loves us and he's with us through all of this. Amen.